Let's bring in a man who was born to work in this industry, Smoke Wallin, with Vertical Companies, a major pot player in California. It's good to have you on. Your reaction, first and foremost, when you see the kind of pictures that Aditi was showing us and the story that she's telling.
Tragic. I mean, those fires are awful for everyone involved, and our thoughts go out to all the people that are in that area. It doesn't affect us very much. We have a massive indoor operation, and our operations are out in Santa Barbara County, and it may affect the price of flower potentially, but you do the best you can to mitigate this kind of situation. But I came from the wine and spirits industry, and there's been wine grown in California for a long time, and they seem to work their way through it.
You want to just remind people who don't know exactly what your business does as it relates to marijuana?
Absolutely. So Vertical is a seed to sale, seed to shelf company. We cultivate, extract, manufacture edibles, vapes, all the different product categories, beverages, and have full distribution and sales. We're one of the largest scale operators in the country, and we're mainly California, but we have operations in several other states as well. And
you're looking to go public at some point, correct?
At some point down the road. Right now, we're building our business, and we're focused on executing our plan, and we're operators and not. There's other guys out there that are kind of buying up assets and are kind of more portfolio plays. We're an execution company. We're focused on building a scale business. I mean, this is the biggest growth opportunity of any category I can remember in my lifetime. And I'll go back to Prohibition and the repeal of the alcohol prohibition that happened in 1933. I mean, this is an industry that could be as big as the current alcohol business, which in the U.S. is $260 billion at retail sales.
Right, and so Smoke, that's what's fascinating here, because I think we tend to focus on production, and this is an awful, fire story in terms of production, but to me, this is a consumer product story. And CPG as a sector and as a way to focus investments for investors, I mean, what's happening? Who's carving out brands? Because I think brands matter in cannabis, and I actually think that people underestimate the impact in the same way that the alcohol and beverage companies are doing this, the way the cannabis companies are.
You're exactly right, and that's how we think about it. Brands are the key to everything, and we have large-scale production so that we can fulfill the needs of our brands. You can't make a brand unless you can fulfill it, and you can deliver the same brand experience each time for a consumer, right? So we're building all that back-end infrastructure so that we can build brands. We have about 25 brands, some of which are ours, some of which are partner brands that we're at different stages of launching in the California market. And, let's face it, brands are built in, a couple places. The coast, California, Southern California is as good a place as you could imagine to build brands. And then we'll take those brands, the recipes, the packaging, and license them and put them out in all the other markets that are available, which we're up to 30 states that now have some form of legal cannabis.
Smoke, a few weeks ago, we saw a big raise for a company, I think it's called Acreage, gave them a certain valuation. Why do you think that your story is more interesting at this point?
Well, I think those guys are doing a nice job, and I'm not going to say anything bad about them, but I think ours, again, is an execution play. In 13 states, those guys hit a certain number next year, and we're of similar scale, but we can hit it all in California. So it's really about a scale operation. And look, the capital is it's chasing this, right? You see the valuations in the Canadian market. That's because there's limited options for people to invest in this market and in the U.S. market, which is arguably going to be a $100 billion plus market, in a few years' time. So we're seeing new capital inflows into the space, and those guys are my hat's off to Kevin and the team for raising that kind of capital, and they paved the way for us, so we're doing similar things.
Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thanks, Smoke Wallin. Let's trade it, Timmy.
Well, I'll tell you what, none of the cannabis names that trade in Canada are cheap. And so when we talk about this sector, one, we want to give people some sense that you should be buying global production stories and the guys that have a first mover advantage. But this is a biopharma story. We've obviously seen this with Epibiotics, and we've seen this with some of the other names that have been carved out. We're getting FDA approval. So that's what I would encourage investors to do. Put a basket together, get yourself exposure to the entire sector, because frankly, I think the valuations aren't what's interesting. I think it's the prospect of the opportunity.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, quickly, you saw Constellation Brands just made an investment in the space. You saw Molson Coors over the last couple of weeks. And if you don't think big cap pharma is going to get in it soon, you're mistaken. So Tim mentioned it. This disrupts a number of different industries, and whether you like it or not, it's coming. And I think the federal, which a lot of people thought were a couple years away, is probably closer to 12 months away.
And I think those are the best ways to play it, is to get on the periphery. And if you get something like a Scott's Miracle-Gro, or you get something in Constellation, you're getting a piece of that, but you've also got solid businesses that you know right now are going to be the backbone of what you're investing in, Scott. But then you've got the kicker on the outside of that with the cannabis side.